want to say a big welcome to everyone to GovTech Explore, the last one for 2022. I've really been looking forward to this one. GovTech Explore is hosted by GovTech Sweden. And we are situated in Sweden, of course, but also in Västernorrland and Sundsvall. GovTech Sweden is an ecosystem who wants to co-create to accelerate public value in the digital transformation. And we do different kinds of activities to meet one another, to create an ecosystem, to support one another, and to develop the things that we are actually working on and working with. So GovTech Explore is one of the things that we do, which is 60-minute activities, online webinars that we have regularly, and we do this on different GovTech topics. And of course, today for the last GovTech Explore of 2022, we have a very, very special guest. It's very, very strange times, 2022. We thought, 2021 was tough in many ways, but 2022 showed us that unfortunately, we once again have a war in Europe. Ukraine, with 40 million people, are fighting for their freedom and their country. And as we are in a GovTech meeting today, we will also look at, how can actually the digital tools, digital infrastructure help in the midst of crisis. And it's an honor, Alex, to have you on board directly from Kiev today. And you're the CEO of Kitsoft, who has been a major part in the GovTech ecosystem in Ukraine and working with the actually great and in many ways front runner when it comes to infrastructure to use digitalization in the digital transformation of a society. So the topic of today is fighting a war with digital means. And I will leave the floor to you, Alex, and you will speak without us disturbing you for about 30 minutes. And then I know Maria will also join for a few minutes, and then I will bring out some questions and comments from the chat later on. So much welcome, Alex. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm great to welcome everybody, and thank you for invitation. First of all, I want to thank the organizers of this meeting for inviting me here today on GovTech Explore. And I feel a great responsibility to present the Ukrainian digitalization experience to you. Of course, last years, we could not dream or imagine such a topic of discussion a few years before. Previous to the war starting, we worked for our government with a mission to create the most convenient digital state in the world. And these days, despite the war, we have been continuing to make it real. Today, Christmas is coming, and as you can see on the screen, this is a photo of Christmas atmosphere in Kiev just a year ago. And now the situation is quite different. You see now on the picture the graffiti of Banksy on the wall of one of the neighborhood of Kiev. Today, due to Russian invasion, we are working mostly on crises, on relief, and on recovery digital public services. And nevertheless, we continue making our dream real, and the current situation in Ukraine encouraged us to cope steadily with challenges and reveal the powerful potential of our solution and test and harden them. In 2019, the new government of Ukraine set a vision to create the most convenient state for people when data runs through government authorities but not people. People can stay in their homes or offices and get all needed services in digital way. So the Ministry of Digital Transformation of Ukraine set the goal to digitalize 100% of public services. It was very ambitious because the government doesn't have 10 years to develop and implement it, but only several years to achieve result. And the main challenges were how to digitalize all public services fast and efficiently, how to launch 100 services at one time, and how to provide citizens with convenient experience. Our company has been working on public services since 2007, and we took into account our expertise in GovTech and offered our low-code platform for building services. Along with our vision and implementation, we could manage to win this procurement procedure, and we were elected as main subcontractor to create this digital service platform. And less than a year later, in 2020, we launched the Diia portal. Its mission is also encoded in name. Diia is an acronym for the Ukraine State and Me. So let's now take a look at this. I would like to share a couple of words about what is Diia and how it affected all the Ukrainian society. Now, Diia is the most powerful GovTech platform in Ukraine. It has more than 100 online public services, more than 150 integrations, about 18 million of users, and 95% of satisfaction rate of users. There are a lot of public services here, and you see on the screen they grouped in different scopes, fields. Yeah, it's social benefits, entrepreneurship services, registration of baby births, different documents, health services, citizenship, anti-crisis services that I will explain a little bit later, and construction services, and of course getting the UA residency. I would like to emphasize that the Diia development is not just digitalizing paper processes, but we did full re-engineering, simplification, and automation of it. Thanks to technical capabilities of our platform, we could launch new services very quickly. Each new service could function as a separate low-code application on the same platform, like a marketplace. And from the start, we had a real stress test like COVID-19. And during this period, we created a lot of services for business support, for people support, and getting document of vaccination was really fast and aligned with the European standard. So it was our first stress test, and we could not imagine what will be the next stress test. But then comes 2022, and the Russian invasion raised new challenges for us as developers. There are shelling, there are power cut these days, and of course, occupation, destruction, and displacement. And all these challenges, and actually the number of people, of personnel that provide public services offline has decreased. Some local departments are not working at all. Still, we must adapt such extreme work condition and create some relief on this topic. So the government needs also fast communication with citizens to support them. And unfortunately, citizens sometimes lose their property, lose their documents, but usually they still have their smartphones with them. So we decided to use Diia capacity to cope with these challenges. One of the first services we created was online notice and collecting the information about damaged and destroyed property. It's about more than 200,000 of damaged property notification already in the database, and team of experts could then assess this information, process it, check the damage if it is possible, and put the order to rebuild it faster, to rebuild it later in a more economic efficient way. The service is also available not only for citizen experts, but also for officers and notaries that can fill and submit notification on behalf of Ukrainians or their representatives that could not make it in digital format, or they are abroad, for example, and could not identify themselves in traditional way. And new challenges. The big amount, more than 6 million of internal refugees. It was huge migration from east of Ukraine to the west of Ukraine, and we launched for them online registration. So further, they can get support. It takes just several clicks in Diia, and they can reflect their documents, so they have no need to go to internal regional administration to confirm their identity. So we made this registration, and the next step was to create the tool for recovery of lost documents. And we created this service, and a lot of people issued and get these documents by mail in physical format, but the application they put in Diia. Such documents like birth certificate, marriage certificate, death certificate can be requested through Diia, and officials from any region can process the request and send electronic or paper versions with delivery directly to citizen address. Also, we created a lot of services for entrepreneurs. We had one big umbrella service, we call it e-entrepreneur, that integrate a lot of digital services for business, like business registration, licenses, taxpayer registration, permits, declarations, and a lot more. The main idea of that service that existed before the war was to allow business to put everything in just one application form, and the system will divide this form from the whole bunch to small batches and send them to the appropriate authorities, so they can each of the authority will do their job. But the main idea that business should not deliberately explore where to go to get the single service, so they can get all the services in just one application form. And during the war, we added some new services to this entrepreneur bunch. For example, it is financial support for refugees employment. It is very important because of the huge number of these refugees. So this they can get this help and direct help, social benefit, financial help, and also help with employment in new places. and already existed businesses can apply for grants. We provided 4 different granting services with all integration just in several weeks. So it was very quickly. 4 different because they can get grants on different sizes for different proposals. It was like 4 different application forms, and already 2,700 grants for small and medium businesses were provided through this tool already. The application for grants are checked by credit committees of the bank that assess risks, and then financial payment issued, and then this platform could monitor how the grant is spent on what proposals. It was Diia case study, but not only Diia helps in this fight. We have some other services that we created for other authorities. Everyone, for example, everyone can submit notification of the assets of Russians involved in the aggression against Ukraine, and inform the government about the property of Russians who support Putin's regime. It is a worldwide service, and we created it safe, and we believe it will bring the end to the war closer by putting economic pressure, confiscating the assets, or putting them on sanction lists. There's another service is Renewal League, or Onova in Ukrainian. It is a platform for interaction of different organizations aiming at one goal: to rebuild and effectively modernize Ukraine. It organizes businesses, constructing businesses, experts, and different donor organization, citizens to participate in this single common goal. We also participate now in some other essential projects to overcome the consequences of the war. We are working on creation of digital solution for rebuilding, and recently we won a procurement procedure to create a platform for psychological assistance. It is an initiative of our First Lady, Olena Zelenska, to create such a platform, and we are now working with support of European Union on this platform, and it is now in the phase of creation. So it's aimed to provide mental health and psychological support services online for many people that suffered. Even now, we don't forget about environmental protection and continue developing ecosystem. It's a government online platform that combines both data and business services for environmental protection and keeps society informed about the ecological situation. And now several words about how we managed to implement it. And I already mentioned that there is a platform that allows us to launch online services quickly, very quickly, on time. We named it Liquio, and this is a local platform based on BPMN notation and a lot of tools that can help create each service faster and with more team engaged. So it is flexible. It is one integrated solution. It is quickly scalable because there is a huge amount of users working in it. It is technologically mature, means that we use only proven open source technologies, and it is secure. It is established high standards of user experience for all service providers, elevating trust for government. This is how it looks. we took into account the needs of citizens and government to create an effective dialogue. For citizen, it's first of all, it's one-stop shop for all services. It's personal documents in a smartphone, and it's fast, familiar, and trusted. Each new service can be easily got from citizen to government, and each new service launch is very quick. And of course, it is accessible for disabled people. We made it with approach to address them first of all. For government, it's powerful management and analytical system. Also, it could lower expenses of maintenance. It adds more quality control for the services, more standard ways to do it. No new bicycle creation. And also it's a tool for direct communication channel with people. One word about system components. It aggregates these tools: public portal, it's mobile application, and the digital signature service, and also different notification services, mail, SMS, messengers, and so on. So for citizen, it provides interface, cabinet, authorization, and notification. For service designers, very important role in our system, in our ecosystem, because if we train a lot of service designers, then we can create more services faster. So we can move a lot of teams, a lot of projects in parallel. So the service designers use process designer, they use application form designer in the platform, they use register platform and integration framework to get the data from external systems. When it all functioning, it's very important to provide good support for citizens. And so we provide for support team monitoring, problem solving tools, access rights management. So we all this in this platform. And for decision makers, we provide powerful services for analytics. And I want to introduce Maria Muzica, my colleague. Maria, tell please some words about you.
Good day, dear colleagues. It's a big pleasure and responsibility to attend this webinar today. Thank you that you shared this time with us. My name is Maria Muzica. Due to the war, I'm currently living in Stockholm, and I'm responsible for communication on behalf of Kitsoft. I would be very grateful to conduct the meeting where we can discuss more details on services that we can provide, and if it's possible, to find the ways of cooperation in future. Feel free to address me by mail at any time. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. And I want to thank everybody for your attention. I'm glad to be with you today and share my knowledge and our experience. I believe that together we will defend democracy in the world. And I'm happy to answer all your questions and learn more about Swedish experience, probably. So let's discuss it.
Thank you so much, Alex and Maria, and thank you for this presentation. We have a couple of questions in the chat, and for the rest of you, please, continue write your questions, and you may also raise your hand. But as a first question, Alex, you mentioned very early in your presentation that it was important for you to be able to move fast and efficient, and this was, of course, a goal even before the war. If you were to summarize very briefly, what are the sort of the key factors that allows you to be efficient and also to move fast? What is needed to do that?
First, it is good low-code tool. So low-code means that you don't spend a lot of time and money for IT development and programmers. You just spend them on service design. And the second is creating and training a lot of parallel working teams that are trained to work with this platform. that are trained to know how to move it in standardized way. So these two things are the main answer of this challenge.
Thank you, Alex. We have a couple of questions from Christina, and she works at the Swedish Companies Registration Office, which is one of our national agencies working with entrepreneurs. And Christina, would you like to put on your mic and ask this yourself, or it's always nice to hear other voices?
Sure, I can do that. Yeah, I had two questions. One was about the place where you said that you created a service where people could find their death and birth certificates and so on and so forth. And my question is, are they digitalized beforehand, or do people really have to go to physical archives to find these documents? Because that's interesting, just how far you had come before the war.
Yeah, it was a very long work, even prior to Diia. There are three different approaches to it, and all three are now functioning in Ukraine. The first one, and the most useful and common, is just to get these documents in Diia application. Of course, it should be digitalized first, and they lean on services, registration databases that are already created. So all the main current documents are in this database. The second one, when someone needs physical document, for some reason, because they probably should provide it abroad or for some not digitalized entity, then they can order this physical document in Diia, on Diia portal, in few clicks, provide information about themselves, and this paper will get to them through mail, through normal regular mail, yeah. And they can use it. And the third one, when something is not in database. So here is work in process. So it's like digitalization on demand. So if you, for example, want to get information about marriage certificate of your grandmother, for example, and it is not in database, then this order should be placed in the system, and it will be processed, but longer. Of course, it will be processed, for example, for 10 days, but it's already very good amount of time for such a request because it is not digitalized, and I'm not sure if it will be digitalized in 100%. Maybe it is no need to do it. For example, so we just see less than 1% request. So there is no need to digitalize everything. So it's like digitalization on demand. You put an order, some people go to archive, search it, and if they find it, they will prepare the answer. But it's, I think, less than 10% of all requests, this kind of request. But there are this process, and we also digitalized it in the most efficient way, as we see.
Thank you. Well, the second question I had was the platform you using, and you say that you can set it up very quickly and so on. My question is basically, is it the cloud-based system and so on? Because we have the problem within EU, as you probably know, that there is a problem with cloud-based system, especially if they're owned by American companies. We're basically not allowed to use them. So we run a lot of, at least the government authorities in Sweden run on-prem systems and so on. So that is a question. How is the solution, the setup? With you?
We worked a lot on facilitating the setup. So when we started to work, even prior Diia, it was no Diia brand, but we put it as one of the three main challenges, how to deploy our system quickly. And now we created a lot of tools. It could be deployed in Kubernetes, in cloud. it could be deployed on premise, but in premise, of course, it is a much longer process and with risk of that could be with on-premise solutions. Now we have a light version of our system that can be deployed just in one Docker container on one server in hours, not days. And of course, when the war starts, there was a lot of requests from our customers to move the systems, the data from on-premise to clouds, because we have no option to leave it on-premise in this case, because we also have very strict legislation that forbid us to move it. But in the first days of war, it was suspended, this legislation. So we were allowed, and even the government facilitate this movement to cloud. As developers, for us, it's much easier to put it in cloud and service. But of course, we understand all these security challenges and legislation limits. So we can work in and provide solution both on premise and cloud.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you for your question.
And I have another question here. Has the war made digitalization, move even quicker within Ukraine? I mean, you had this quite, big targets from the beginning, to be quick and fast, and you had COVID that made you the stress test. But have you moved even quicker now due to the war?
Yeah, actually, our people understand what they do. They do it with much more passion, because it's like their impact on everything, on the situation. They understand that service can help them, can help their friends and neighbors to get this faster. So it's like psychological factor. And also we continue to improve our platform. We look on bottlenecks. We get all the, for example, there are a lot of huge traffic from abroad, because Ukrainians moved there and they still need these services, and we should a little bit reconfigure it to get this in good condition. Yeah, so of course we started to move a little bit faster, but we were already prepared. This is the main point. We were already prepared, because during previous time the pressure was also very hard, and we tried to start this new services in weeks or months, not years. But of course, war also, and the very important thing that our plans changed dramatically. So we work not on the services that we previously planned to work. Of course, we wanted to make more services digitalized for business, so everybody from all over the world can open business in Ukraine. But nobody now wants, of course, open business in Ukraine these days. So we worked on e-residency also, on e-resident service, like the service that is provided in Estonia, for example. Everybody knows the Estonian e-residence. We are in Ukraine also worked in this, but these plans still exist, but it's not so high priority on them. So the service of damaged property and direct financial help for suffered people, obviously we didn't expect these services, but we were prepared to change our plans and move faster in this field.
And on the topic of cybersecurity, if you could share some of your thoughts here, Alex, because cybersecurity has been on the topic for many years, of course, for EU, and now it's even more in focus. And when we talk about public services, this is, of course, very, very crucial in many ways. what are your, and we have a question here from Hannah also, I mean, how big is the risk that, you know, Russia will actually, you know, threaten your digital infrastructure, and how do you handle this? And I mean, for all of us in the EU, this is a threat to us. We can see attacks from Russia for many of our countries. Of course, you are a bigger target in this sense, but still. So do you have any thoughts to share with us regarding the cybersecurity question issue?
Yeah, of course. The cybersecurity is what it was critical point and the start, and I like the words that there is in cyber world, there are no borders with Russia. Everybody has the borders with Russia if we talk about digital. But of course, Ukrainian infrastructure was one of the main target, and we, our company, as provider of digital services for government, are also under attack. We're also under attack in the start of this year. Actually, we for everybody in Ukraine, the war started in the end of February, but for us as digital team, it started in January. It was very hard attacks on our infrastructure. Part of our infrastructure, of development infrastructure, we even stopped it to lower risk that it could be used to attack governmental services. There were some side defaces that were created by our company. It was very pity, but actually we understand why it could be achieved, this side deface, and why and how to cope with it, because the main risks are not in some very hard technical decision, but more people. So, for example, some system administrators of governmental sites, websites, open access to some administrative panel or CMS to press service, PR service of their ministry, and they can easily access. But of course, it could be accessed also for attackers, for hackers. Yeah. So it put the risk, and there are a lot of such experience. We after these attacks, we became more confident that we should place this security right into the platform. I mean that you cannot put it and publish it without restriction, for example. So the system could check it internally. For example, it could even go to ping some external resources, for example, Google, and check if Google is accessible, then probably you are accessible from the world, and the system can push the notification to the security team that something is suspicious. It's not like blocker, because, for example, if you put it somewhere for testing, it is okay to be open to the world. But when you are in production, you should put this restriction. And we were working on this checklist, how to make services even more secure, so they can predict some failures and notify the support engineers with some risk notification. Lisa Maria, you're muted.
Thank you, Alex. We have a question from Emily, and that's more regarding the citizens. What risks do you see managing vast amounts of personal data online in this time of acute crisis? Additional digital safeguards or new international partnerships for increased digital safety and security?
Yeah. Of course, first part of the question, how to cope with all this risk when you put data online, how we can handle this. First, we divide the personal data, so we don't store them in one place. So even when I say that we have integrated platform for creating and maintaining services, we don't have integrated platform to store all the data. So the data stored in their places, in each ministry, in each registry, and they are protected with different software, so it could not be forged and attacked in the same way at once. So we tried not to hold the personal data for a long time. What do I mean with long time? For example, when you put your application in the system and the time of handling of your application is one day, it is okay when you see it in your personal account. But after you get the data or the result of the service, there is no need to store it internally. You, for example, can just show citizen that you have this order. It was handled. You get the result, but don't store any details and don't show it. So you just leave the record, but no data. This is one approach. The second one is not to put the data, not put the eggs all in the same basket. And regarding how to handle personal data, what I see, there is a technology now very important in the future. I see that it could be adopted even more. I mean verifiable credential technology, where all the people can use self-sovereign identities and get and store all the documents, all their identities in their digital wallet, and only share to the government or to the service, to the businesses, only data that are that they allow them to use. So this approach with crypto technologies, with blockchain, it could be used in the future. The European Union creating now EBSI infrastructure project that cope with this problem, and Ukraine is also part of this association as associated member. We're also trying to make our projects in this field, but I think it's a horizon of 3-5 years to create all the infrastructure and to get the mass adoption of this verifiable credential technology. So this is how I see this now, and what is the solution for tomorrow.
If you were to help us in the other countries to post questions or comments to our decision makers to be able to actually move for public value, of course, and that's the goal, but also to make this digital transformation happen a little bit quicker, because I think some of us are frustrated sometimes that it's happening too slowly. Do you have any what is important from the decision makers to allow you as an entrepreneur to be able to be there and to contribute in this transformation?
So of course it was like a political decision first. Our president, where it was a part of the election program, that they will put everything in smartphone, state in smartphone. It was one of the idea of his political program. So it was demand of people, because we have a lot of banking services that already functioned before that are very useful, digital banks, and everybody understand that if bank can do it with money, so why not to do it for government with important data, but it is not money actually. So it could be handled in the similar way with the same security framework and so on. So people want it, and government, some politician put it in their program, and after that ministries started to implement it. Also, it was a very good team in Ministry of Digital Transformation, so they are real fans of their job, and they want to create it and facilitate these processes. And for us, it was just we prepared for it. Yes, we created platform, we created team, we have understanding how to cope with it, but it was really good. It was really good decision from government to address us as professional to create the services, and we were happy to engage. And now also probably if other countries could want to do the same, we are ready to consult or provide some services and so on. So we are now looking to international cooperation, because there are there is a lot to do in Ukraine, but I think there is a lot to do in other countries, in developing countries, European Union countries. All of them have the same priority to make digital services faster, simpler, and more accessible.
Yes, we also have a question from Christine. She works for SIDA, which is a national agency, the Swedish International Development Corporation. And she posed a question here: what are the red lines from a personal integrity perspective? Do you have any? Do you understand the question, Alex?
What do you mean integrity, personal integrity?
Let's see if Christine is with us. Christine, do you want to post your question and explain it?
Yes,
Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you for a super interesting presentation. Well, when you collect documents and share documents, what are there any kinds of documents that you wouldn't manage at this time of Ukraine, in this war situation, that would reveal too much of personal perspectives, health documents, things that can provide, your military background? What kind of documents do you deal with that you wouldn't like, that you shouldn't deal with, or if you're so to say?
Actually, that red lines moved a little bit, honestly, because when you have a big request to put this document in Diia from millions of people, you should handle it, yeah. And we try to reduce risks with more security, ciphering on top of this document, make it only accessible to people that explicitly show their will to move to the digital format. So when you should provide some alternatives, but during the war sometimes there is no alternative, honestly, yeah. So you cannot go to some building that is already shelled, and I think really now that red lines moved. We don't work a lot with the health services, but again, during COVID, I need to mention it. Everybody created, the most countries created digital services to put online, put in digital format a COVID certificate, because it was needed to travel, to go to restaurant, public building, and so on. So previous to COVID, it was like a blocker to put some easily accessed documents, health documents. But after we have the procedure, and I think in Sweden and other countries they are the same, that when you can get this online, of course you should sign some allowance to government to issue this document, but again we created it. And but health, when we talk about some disease and other data. We are now not work a lot with these services, and there is probably some red lines in this field. And also, when there are some projects in military field, for example, data of our combatants that we will not put in Diia, I'm sure. So it even don't put it in one database in the plain format. So it must be like diversified in terms of risk. And if you collect all this data in one place, you should eliminate any personal data. So for analytics, you can collect this data in one database for analytics, but you should not collect the personal data of military competence. So this is how it looks from my perspective.
Okay, the minutes are running quickly. Alex, you and your team, Kitsoft, is of course an important part of the GovTech ecosystem within the whole of EU. You have wonderful and great and useful skills, of course, and you are important entrepreneurs in Europe. I know, from what I understand, your team is also in different countries right now, also as a consequence of the war. Do you have any message to the ones listening to this session, also on the part of Kitsoft, in need of collaboration to support you in your important work, or perhaps if you look for collaboration in other countries?
Yeah, really. We have a lot of people from our company. Some are in Poland, some in Sweden. We work a lot with Estonia, with United Kingdom, and also if some of you are interested in cooperation with us, we can help with our expertise, not only in development, but also like digital service designers. And probably it is a good point to mention that we are open to collaboration with Swedish businesses to cope with this field. I didn't mention a lot about our expertise in smart city technology, but we have the same bunch of services for cities, and it's like more markets, bigger market, yeah, for digital services for cities, for municipalities. And if you have some requests or interesting thoughts about this possible cooperation, I ask everybody to address our site or mail, directly address me or Maria to put the meeting and discuss any ideas for further cooperation. Feel free to do it, and I hope it will help us to create some great things together.
Thank you so much, Maria and Alex, for sharing and to be our final guests for GovTech Explore for 2022. And to the participants and the ones that are listening to this after this session, because we will post it on govtechsweden.se in a few days. Please share it, and if you want to collaborate, you can reach out to Maria, Alex. You have Kitsoft website, of course, as well, or to us at GovTech Sweden, and we will connect you. Very interesting, and lots of love and best of luck with your important work.
It was a pleasure to meet with you and share our experience.
Yes.
And thank you all the Sweden for supporting Ukraine in these hard times.
Of course. Thank you so much, everyone. We keep in touch, and you'll find more events on GovTech Sweden as well, which will happen next year. Okay, bye everyone. Thank you.